All right, sorry about the delay, folks. Just getting my scanner frequencies turned on here. I wanted to get right to a tornado warning that is in effect for the area of Ashe County, North Carolina, heading towards Sparta, North Carolina. This is a dangerous setup today. I put out the text alert a little bit earlier today, but the amount of instability in the air today is pretty staggering, and we're going to continue to see problems into tonight, I think. So let's give you the rundown on the radar right now, and you can see we've got heavy storms in and around Lynchburg where they've been hit so hard over the past several days. More storms ongoing here. The air very ripe, and it's coming out of the southeast from Halifax and Danville. Notice these winds are coming out of the south-southeast. That's important because the winds aloft are coming out of the west and the southwest. So you combine these winds, that's almost a 90-degree angle, and when the updraft encounters that, it will tend to spin. And that's what's exactly happening right now. We also have an incredible amount, one of the most unstable days you'll ever have in Southwest Virginia. Dew points up in the 70s, mid 70s in some cases, and when the dew points get high, you don't need a lot of wind shear to overcompensate. You can see a well-defined hook echo south of Mouth to Wilson. This is Mouth of Wilson. This is a serious situation as it's heading right into Allegheny County, North Carolina now. And I will put the base velocity on here, and you can see the greens going toward the radar and the reds going away. It does appear that this area rotation, at least on the radar signature, has weakened somewhat. You can see as we go back here, a very, very pronounced signature. Just a few minutes ago, this was at 6:09. There was a severe thunderstorm warning in effect at that point, but they do tag them tornado possible when warranted. So we had about 19 knots or 20 miles per hour wind going away from the radar, and we had 46 mile per hour wind going toward the radar. And that was at 6:09, and that was how many feet off the ground? Let's see, 5,000 feet off the ground. So not a very reliable situation in terms of getting close to the ground measurements here. But the myth that mountains deflect tornadoes has been shattered by history and our own personal history here. You can see that a very pronounced area of rotation was right over the county line there. And then as we move this forward, you can see in the Allegheny County now, I think Ashe County is good, but Allegheny County, North Carolina needs to watch this very, very carefully. So I'll read you the warning right now from the Weather Service. This is an update as of 6:13. This is in effect until 6:45, so about another 18 minutes or so. We had a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado over Scottsville or Laurel Springs, moving east at 15 miles per hour. Not moving northeast, it's turning to the right, and when the storms deviate from the overall motion, which is northeast today, they have a lot of spin going on. So the fact that it was moving east. So Ashe County's just been updated here, canceled. But as I mentioned, Allegheny County continues. And let's see, flying debris will be dangerous to folks. We'll also have mobile homes damaged or destroyed. Roofs, windows, vehicles. I've got a damage report coming in now. Got power lines down, it appears, in this area. So transformer sparking and arcing. I'm not sure the location of this. I know I'm not getting Ashe County as much as I'm getting, I think, Allegheny County, North Carolina data. Radio data is coming in. So we'll continue to watch that and monitor it. But this is a serious situation, so you definitely want to be in the lowest level of a basement or get under a workbench into a bathroom. And this is, again, in effect 4. If I advance it here, we still have a hook echo. This is in effect for Allegheny County, North Carolina. Ashe County, North Carolina has been updated. They are not in the tornado warning yet, but the rotation has, or yet, it's already moved out. The rotation's now moving into Allegheny County, North Carolina. It's very, very weak. It's diminished somewhat, but it may not be the full picture. We may actually have rotation that's more impressive that the radar's shooting over, because the further north and east it gets to the radar, we will have better data at the ground. But right now, we're still having to look about 5,300 feet up to get a full picture or the best picture we can of this. I do see some debris being picked up here, possibly. That could also be hail. But there's definitely a faintness here with the correlation coefficient, and that's because it would probably be because it's picking up 5,000 feet up. I bet if we could see up under this, we may see a more pronounced circle, possibly. That would confirm a tornado. But we do have, I think, wind damage here because a lot of times smaller leaves and limbs and finer particles can get picked up by just straight line winds, and that will show up rather diffuse here. But the fact that it's showing up is significant in this case because that confirms that we probably have damaging wind in the area underneath where the rotation is occurring. You can still get straight line winds with rotation. Remember that as well. But if you see a lowering in the clouds and you start to see things rotating just by your eye, you want to definitely head inside if you're a spotter or somebody from the National Weather Service helping those folks out. Very, very concerning situation here. I'm going to try to get some roads up as well. I'll show some roads here. Okay, so this is right near $221, and this is also getting close to US 21, and this is what, 221 as well, going out of Sparta here. I don't know my North Carolina places like I should, but over the years I've grown to cover it more because significant weather oftentimes will come from North Carolina and move into Carroll, Patrick counties. And I do think with time tonight we're going to start to see things really bounce up. So we're going to continue to watch this. There's a lot of lightning nearing Sparta as well, and the rotation may be slightly more significant now than it's been in the past few scans. And typical for storms like this, they will tend to cycle, and you'll see the rotation close in, then diminish again. You'll see it close back up and tighten back up. We definitely had it pretty tight just after 6 o'clock, and you could follow that signature moving to the east, not the northeast. And let me show you the other storms, how they're moving, so you can kind of get an idea. They're moving more northeast. And so we'll run down what's going on across the whole area right now. You can see, notice the cell in Bedford. It's very slow moving, very light winds aloft, but they are turning with height. We do have a lot of spin potential anyway. And the fact that we've got temperatures up around 96 degrees in Southside in some places. Well, it's more like 86, I apologize. But still 90 in South Boston. The fact that we've got dew points up into the 73-degree range is significant and is going to add. Basically, it says to the storm you don't need as much wind shear as you do now because we're adding buoyancy. So you can get a spin by combining two things. You can get a spin by, if this is the ground and this is aloft, if you've got a lot of hot air down here, you got steep lapse rates, and the air is really cooler aloft, you'll get a more violent trajectory upward. And notice, a tornado not only spins, but it has that rising motion that creates it. The other one would be wind shear to help any storm that taps into that start to turn. So the fact that you've got winds coming out of southeast in the Halifax County area and the Danville, that's what we call backing winds. And when they encounter these winds out of the west, that's a pretty significant change in the wind speed with height. So we tend to get these hook echoes, and you can see some overall rotation just in the Bedford County storm. You notice kind of a kidney being shaped there. And you'll notice with these other areas of red, you can kind of pick out some spin and some, see right there was a couple of kind of horseshoe shaped or N. Looks like the letter N, the top of the letter N, little commas here. That's an indication of broad rotation. And of course, we can confirm that by looking at the base velocity. And you can see these higher levels of red corresponding to the light green to tan areas of red. That is, and then we put the storm relative motion, you can really see it. These little areas here are where the air is spinning. It's not spinning tight enough for a tornado warning in the Lynchburg area, but as I turn the radar back on for you here, you can see we have additional storms that will be coming out of the Highlands, that are coming out of Floyd County now, and they're moving into a very unstable air mass. It'll be interesting to see if they survive. There may be a bit of a mid-level cap going on. We don't have the mid-level instability, but we do have the low-level instability. When it's humid, I will tell you the mid-level stuff's not as important though. So that's still worth talking about. We still have a very tight tornado warning here. Relatively tight anyway. This is area circulation still showing up. You've got more away than you are looking at toward the radar right now, but that's still going to produce some spin and possibly some wind damage there. Correlation coefficient still muted, but still kind of lines up with that area. And if you look at the rotation scale here, you can see the lit values, the lit pixels. The fact that we have anything there is showing us where the air is spinning. And you can see it was relatively higher here. We start to get out of the purples into the blues. Again, this was at about 618, and it was right around 609 that this started to pop up. So you can see it lasted about 10 minutes, and then it started to weaken a little bit, and it's come back just a hair, but it's just barely hanging on right now, I'd say. This is probably producing either a wall cloud or some shelf cloud activity, or a little bit of a hybrid. You get that in the real world. And storms kind of go in between phases here. But again, this includes Allegheny County, and I think it's in effect for about another, let's see, shouldn't be much longer. In effect until 6:45, I believe. Yes. And it's hard to pick out. It would be right here. This would be where our possible tornado would be if it had formed. And it may not be a tornado at the moment, but at any second it could tighten back up and spin back up. So this is heading off to the east-northeast. It's heading kind of toward the Allegheny area, or the right where you see the word Allegheny, that part of Allegheny County, North Carolina. Sparta would need to watch this too. As it weakens, it may tighten in on Sparta a little bit. If it strengthens, it will head more to the right and head more toward the word Allegheny there. So a stronger system would miss Sparta to the south. A ill-defined circulation would be more directly on top of Sparta. And you're getting lightning now near Sparta. You can see that jumping out ahead of the storm. I can still see some rotation just by looking at the radar presentation here. There's some faint rotation. You notice the fact that you don't see a red anywhere on the screen except for right here. That means all these winds are blowing from southwest toward the radar. So the radar's up here where the Jamey's forecast is, right? So these are all in green. These are winds going this way from the southwest to the northeast. And that's fine in general. That's still going to give you a strong storm, but it's not going to spin as much. Now, when the winds are showing up going away from the radar, going back into the wind where it's blowing from, that is definite rotation. You have to have some kind of circulation to create that, or either that or a microburst up here, and we don't see evidence of that. That would be causing it to jet outward. You would likely see some brighter greens here if that was the case. The fact that you just have it kind of sitting by itself and you've got some enhanced green right here, that's ill-defined rotation, about, over a course of tens of miles rather than just under a mile. When it gets like that, you'll see if it gets stronger, you'll see brighter colors and they'll be closer together. The fact that they were closer together is why we have the tornado warning. National Weather Service is being safe, and they're continuing to follow that area of rotation, and they're keeping a tornado warning with it right now. Let's see if I can go back to my weather wire here and see what I've got in my chat. It looks like we've got a flash flood warning now for Grayson, Smith, and Wythe County until 10:15. And I believe the tornado, I don't have the tornado warning yet. The severe thunderstorm warning's expired. The tornado warning does continue. So that was then. That was very close to 221. And then this is now. So it's a weaker circulation, but the circulation now has been updated. It looks like the main circulation would be just outside the polygon. Looks like we've got maybe some new circulation developing here. That will also happen. You'll see this stuff occlude the downdraft will choke off the circulation, where we no longer have rising motion. We just have a little bit of leftover spin, and it'll contain itself back into the overall storm. But then a new area of spin will generate to the right into the basically the south of the old circulation, or parallel to it to the east. You've got the old circulation here. Here's a new circulation. That's why tornadoes, they tend to jump a little bit. It's because the overall storm can put down individual tornadoes and satellite tornadoes even around the main circulation. We've also got another enhanced area that's just starting to show up a little bit more here in the on the line here between Allegheny County and, well, getting closer to the Blue Ridge Parkway. That's in white. So we've got one area here that's on 21, I believe. Yep. But these are overall very weak, but we're only able to see about 5,000 feet up. We've got about 300 feet lower thanks to the curvature of the Earth. The radar's way up here in Floyd. But this is all we can go by, really. We can try to look at other radars, but I don't think they're going to cover this as well. No, Blacksburg's the way to go in this case. Yeah. We've also got a strong storm in Carroll County, and I just want to give you guys an idea of the amount of instability we have to work with, and then I'll sign it off here. I think we may see a little bit of a break before our next flare up here. But this is the amount of moisture in the air, just to give you guys an idea. When you get into these 2-inch areas, that is a lot of moisture. And it's right here that we're kind of seeing southerly winds meet westerly winds. So we almost have another miniature warm front right through our area. That's where the winds are backing. The significant tornado parameter is elevated significantly through the Roanoke Valley and going along the 460 corridor. Lynchburg's got 1.5-inch rainfall rates. The supercell parameter is up again around 1 to 4. That's fairly significant for this time of the year, and it will continue to kind of be around into the next 4 to 6 hours. It's not really going to change any. It may actually intensify for some areas. Got the mixing ratio here. You can see where the winds are converging right there. This is at the surface. And again, you've got the south-southeast winds, and this is where we've got just a lot of moisture in the orange and the yellow. Just an incredible amount of humidity and an incredible amount of storm fuel. If you look up here, we've got about 2,500 joules per kilogram of CAPE. That's big. And again, you've got an area convergence moving in there, almost like a little mini low-pressure system. You look here at 925 millibars, south-southeast. Let's go up in the air a little bit more out of the due south at 5,000 feet. At 10,000 feet, they're out of the southwest, and we've got a shortwave here. This is an area where the air will be rising out ahead of this. You see all that moisture at the mid-levels as well. Go up to 18,000 feet. Winds are out of the southwest-southwest. You can go up to about 20,000 feet. 30,000 feet, they're out of the west-southwest. And we've had some upper-level divergence here also enhancing what's going on. They're cutting back the response on the electrical hazard in North Carolina now. We can go here to GR Earth real quick, and I can show you the overall spin over the past hour. You can definitely see it tracked here. It was right near Jefferson County, North Carolina, about an hour ago, hour and 15 minutes ago. And then it kind of moved to the northeast. And then as the rotation got up into the reds here, that's the overall area of spin, it began to jet out to the right. And it's still holding its own here, just enough to keep this tornado warning going for another few minutes. So we've got about 3 more minutes left on this thing. So we'll go back to our radar here. I don't see as much of a hook or anything. I don't see a lot of wind. I see some gusty winds at the surface. Just picked back up again. It was almost where I didn't think it was going to do much more, and then it kind of tightened back up just a little bit in those 2 spots there. Don't see as much debris in the air. The storm, though, is very high up. These clouds are towering up to about 41,000 feet. And we've got other storms in here up at about 30,000 feet in the yellow. You can see that right now in Nelson County, we've got a pretty significant storm there, borderline severe, I'd say. 42,000 feet. A couple of special weather statements out for Buckingham County. Nelson County's got a flood advisory. Lynchburg had one earlier. We've got a special weather statement out for Gladstone into Appomattox County. Heavy rain over Lynchburg. That's never a good thing. KDP values, the amount of water in the air, in a way, where it bends the radar beam, showing up here in the greens. And this can be an indicator of where the really, really heavy rain is, and even where the hail is, or the melting hail. So this is either rain or melting hail, but a lot of it here near Gladstone and also into the city of Lynchburg there, near Madison Heights and Lynchburg. We've got some tremendous downpours. That's where you can kind of tell the difference between just ordinary rain and the really bad rain. Also in Schuler, Livingston, ton of lightning here. With this cell moving toward Scottsville. And we've also got here in Buckingham County just a whole lot of rain and lightning and probably some hail, I would say, in some of this moving into Buckingham, just north of Buckingham there on, I think it's 29. That's 20. Okay. But that's bearing watching. And notice we've got new cells developing over Bedford. That's been the generation point. That's where these storms have been flaring up. And you can see them coming out of nowhere here as they kind of pop up around Bedford. There's another new cell. So there's some kind of boundary right here between Manita and Bedford that's creating these storms that are training over the Lynchburg area. So we may be looking at another flash flooding situation in Lynchburg, folks. Evington and Timberlake, watch out for flash flooding because you've got that one cell Lynchburg that's strongest over eastern parts of the city. But not to be negated, you've got some developing cells down here. And the fact that the air is so buoyant, it will not take long for these to blow up as well. Sometimes you can go up in the air and you can see a little bit more development before that reaches the ground. So if I go up to these upper levels here, you can see a newer, fresher cell there north of Bedford that hasn't got to the ground quite yet, or it has, but it's extending well into the atmosphere. And you can also see some blips here in over Smith Mountain Lake. This is up at about 9,000 feet. That can sometimes be an indicator of developing storms. We've also got some activity in Franklin County, but nothing severe at the moment. There is a heavy storm over Roanoke County or in eastern Montgomery County, just near Elliston, Lafayette, Shawsville, and Ironto. That's moving into the Salem area into Catawba this afternoon. There's the one cell, fresh cell over Bedford. Another special weather statement has just been issued for Carroll County. This is to the northeast of Fancy Gap. And I bet if we looked at our velocity, it's based on rotation. So we'll look at our velocity here. And yep, there's some rotation right now northeast of Fancy Gap. It is not at the level where they're going to put a tornado warning out yet. But if it lines up and becomes a little more significant, we could see a fresh tornado warning, a new tornado warning issued for Carroll County. This would be northeast Fancy Gap, right along 58 there. So if you're on 58, you need to get out of this area or take shelter, I'd say. There's no warning in effect right now, but just to be on the safe side, if you live on Highway 58 east of Hillsville, between Hillsville and Patrick County, you do need to take shelter because there is some rotation over you right now. That rotation is weak at the moment, but I emphasize at the moment. Our tornado warning has been lifted now for Sparta and for Allegheny County, North Carolina. That's good news. The bad news is we have a new area of circulation that has jumped into Carroll County, and we're watching that very closely for you. We've also got some flash flooding in Grayson County down around the Bristol area, and more flash flooding to occur. They put out a new flood advisory out for Nelson County and Albemarle County. They're near the Parkway. That also includes southern Augusta County near the Parkway there, Skyline Drive and all of that. So I'll give you more updates as we get into the evening if necessary. I'll put another update out in about an hour otherwise. I'm also going to head to Patreon and put some stuff up there for you members. But keep a watchful eye to the sky. This is going to continue through 1 a.m. tonight.